This is one of the highest cable cars in Europe. Its destination is a table nearly 4,000 meters up. This is a restaurant standing in the middle of the ocean. It disappears completely underwater twice a day. This is the only way into a restaurant, buried deeper than a 20-story building. And this, meat cooked without fire, without electricity, just the heat of a volcano. Somewhere your restaurant doesn't stay in one place. It's a boat drifting in the Caribbean. And somewhere else, to reach your table, you have to cut through dozens of kilometers of drifting ice. 10 restaurants, all real, all open, all bookable today. Starting with the one closer to the North Pole than any Michelin restaurant on Earth. There's no address on Google Maps that will take you straight here. You'll have to drive an off-road vehicle down an unnamed gravel road, through the thick fog of the Faroe Islands, 18 tiny islands scattered between Norway and Iceland. Your destination is an 18th century turf-roofed farmhouse, where sheep still wander across the roof of the very building you're about to enter for dinner. This is KOKS, and this was only its old location. The man behind it all is Poul Andreas Ziska, a native of the Faroe Islands who took over the kitchen at KOKS in 2014 when he was just 23 years old. Then, in 2022, he did something almost unheard of in fine dining. He closed a successful restaurant and moved the entire operation to Ilimanak, a village of just 50 people in Greenland, accessible only by boat or helicopter through waters packed with drifting ice. There were no supermarkets, no suppliers making same-day deliveries. Ziska's team had to rebuild the entire menu around whatever this frozen land was willing to give them. Greenland halibut, snow crab, and muskox. KOKS wasn't born remote. It started in 2011 inside a hotel in the heart of Tórshavn, completely ordinary. But the restaurant kept moving from a lakeside building in the village of Kirkjubø to the location that would make it famous around the world. A turf-roofed farmhouse beside Lake Lenavatn, just 30 minutes from the capital, but accessible only by off-road vehicle. In 2017, KOKS earned the first Michelin star in the history of the Faroe Islands. 2 years later, Ziska was named Nordic Young Chef of the Year. And by 2018, the media had started calling it something else, the most remote restaurant in the world. Then he moved it to Greenland, where even by the standards of remote, the distance was on an entirely different level. But if you think Greenland is the ultimate limit of how far a restaurant can go, you haven't seen what comes next. Just over 1,300 kilometers from the North Pole, there's a town where the first sign to greet you isn't a menu, it's a warning about polar bears. Longyearbyen is the northernmost inhabited town on Earth, where polar bears roam close enough to residential areas that locals are required to carry rifles when venturing outside. To get here, you have to fly directly to Svalbard or take a 2-day ship journey across the Arctic Ocean from the northernmost point of mainland Europe. And right in the middle of this treeless Arctic tundra sits a restaurant called HUSET, Norwegian for simply the house, home to more than 1,000 varieties of wine. Spanish head chef Alberto Lozano runs the kitchen in a place where every ingredient, every vegetable, every cut of meat has to be shipped or flown in from thousands of kilometers away. But the real cost isn't just logistics. This is a land of polar nights where the sun disappears for weeks at a time. The nearest hospital is hundreds of kilometers away. To survive here, the kitchen team learned to work with local hunters and fishermen, bringing seal, reindeer, and rock ptarmigan onto the menu, ingredients you simply can't find anywhere else in the world. HUSET was built in 1951 as a community center for coal miners and their families. Over the decades, it served as a post office, a cinema, a gym, and even a school. Then, in the 1980s, Roar Hall, the manager of HUSET, came up with a bold idea. Insulate the basement within the permafrost, creating a stable temperature year-round, using much the same principle as the famous Svalbard Global Seed Vault. The wine collection grew from there, eventually reaching more than 20,000 bottles, turning what was once a miner's community hall into one of the most remarkable wine cellars in Northern Europe. In Svalbard, at least you're still traveling on the surface, even if that surface is frozen solid. The next restaurant is different. You have to go down. More than 20 stories beneath the ground, into a cave that formed before the dinosaurs had even appeared on Earth. No cable car, no boat, no helicopter. Here, the only way to reach your table is by elevator, descending 21 stories into a network of dry caves that stretches for 60 miles toward the Grand Canyon. This restaurant is called CAVERNS Grotto, and it sits deep inside limestone rock formed 345 million years ago. The owner, John McAnulty, came up with the idea while leading a tour through the cave. Food is lowered down using old mining buckets and gold panning trays, a tribute to the region's history. But the price of relying on a single elevator became painfully clear one evening. 5 guests were trapped for more than 24 hours, 200 feet underground, after the elevator broke down. They couldn't escape using the stairs, which were described as little more than an old exterior fire escape. That night, they had to sleep in the hotel room inside the cavern, waiting until the following morning to be safely brought back to the surface. The cave itself was discovered completely by accident in 1927 by a man named Walter Peck, who was on his way to a poker game. He nearly fell into a sinkhole that had opened up after heavy rain. When he saw crystals glittering in the light, he thought he had discovered gold and diamonds. They turned out to be nothing more than worthless iron oxide. By the mid-1930s, crews had begun building stairways, rope ladders, and suspension bridges to reach deeper into the cave. But it wasn't until 1962 that the modern elevator was installed, transforming the cave from a geological curiosity into a place where people could actually sit down and have a meal deep beneath the earth. At Grand Canyon Caverns, at least you still have an elevator, even if it occasionally betrays you. The next restaurant goes in the exact opposite direction. Instead of descending underground, you have to fly into the sky, gliding above the forest canopy to reach a dining table 700 meters above the ground, with 7 hanging glaciers stretching out before you. The journey begins with a cable car climbing a 47-degree slope, the longest continuous double black diamond ski run in North America. 6 minutes later, the doors open at an elevation of 700 meters, and 7 hanging glaciers stretch across the Girdwood Valley before you. The restaurant has the perfect name, 7 Glaciers. Chef Aaron Appling Gilman builds the menu entirely around what Alaska has to offer: local seafood, wild game, and seasonal ingredients foraged from the surrounding land. But the price of suspending a restaurant in the mountains is that the weather never shows mercy. Every year, the restaurant is forced to close twice, for nearly 7 weeks in the spring and almost 11 weeks in the fall, just to maintain the only cable car system connecting it to the world below. For almost half the year, these doors remain completely silent. Not a single diner can make the journey up. 7 Glaciers is part of the Alyeska Resort, just 27 miles from Anchorage. Yet, it feels like an entirely different world. Not because of the distance, but because of the elevation and the steep terrain. It's one of only 3 restaurants in the entire state of Alaska to receive the AAA 4 Diamond designation. And for years, Wine Spectator has recognized it for its outstanding wine list. A rare luxury in a place where even fresh vegetables have to be carefully planned around the seasons. From Alaska, fly all the way to the other side of the planet, to an elevation of nearly 3,600 meters in the Andes. There, a chef once recalled the moment he thought he was going to die, on the very road leading to his own restaurant. 70 minutes by air from Lima. Then another 90-minute drive up into the mountains. The destination is 3,600 meters above sea level, right beside a mysterious Inca archaeological site made up of concentric terraces called moray. The restaurant next to it is called Mill. It was founded by Chef Virgilio Martinez together with his wife, Pia Leon, and his sister, Malena Martinez. Over a 3-year period, Virgilio himself made 47 trips to this region of Cusco. But the price of those journeys wasn't just time. The Andes are prone to a phenomenon known as huecos, violent mudslides where rocks crash against each other with enough force to send sparks flying, while torrents of water sweep away everything in their path, even entire trees. During one particularly violent hueco, Martinez thought to himself, "This time, we're really going to die." But he kept going. Because to him, the altitude wasn't an obstacle. It was the key to understanding Peru's incredible biodiversity and its ancient agricultural heritage. Mill takes direct inspiration from the concentric terraces beneath it, where archaeologists believe the ancient Incas may have used each level as an agricultural laboratory, with every terrace creating a different microclimate. The restaurant works with more than 300 local farmers and artisans, scattered across elevations ranging from 900 meters to more than 4,200 meters above sea level. The menu isn't just food. It's an ongoing conversation between cuisine, the land, and knowledge that has survived for centuries. From 3,600 meters high in the Andes, there's somewhere even higher. And there, you don't need to spend 90 minutes driving uphill. You simply sit inside a cable car cabin and let it carry you toward nearly 4,000 meters right beneath the summit of Mont Blanc. The cable car cabin carries you up to 3,842 meters across one of the longest unsupported cable spans in the world, suspended in mid-air for nearly 3,000 meters. When the cabin doors open, you're standing in the middle of a 360-degree panorama of the Mont Blanc Massif. And right there is a restaurant called Le 3842, named after the exact altitude where it sits. But the human story here isn't about a chef. It's about 30 workers known as the Spiders of the Sky. They lived and worked directly on top of Aiguille du Midi, building the very cable car you just traveled on. The price of that altitude was very real. They battled altitude sickness, frostbite, and the constant risk of slipping on ice-covered rock. Even in summer, temperatures at the summit can hover around freezing. There were no helicopters to help them. Every piece of material, including the massive load-bearing cables, had to be hauled up by human hands. The idea dates back to 1905, when 2 Swiss engineers first proposed it. But it took nearly half a century to become reality, interrupted twice by 2 world wars. The most difficult section, the final stretch to the summit, was completed by Italian contractor Dino Laura Totino over 5 years, from 1951 to 1955. When it opened, it was the highest cable car in the world, an engineering feat built entirely without the help of helicopters. At the top of the Alps, at least you're still standing on solid rock, with the ground thousands of meters below you. The next restaurant has no such certainty. It sits on a tiny rock in the Indian Ocean and disappears completely underwater twice a day. Getting to this restaurant depends entirely on the tide. At low tide, you can simply walk across the sand to a rock rising out of the beach at Mishamvi Pingwe. But just a few hours later, when the tide comes in, that same rock becomes a real island, and you need a small wooden boat to get across. Same restaurant. Two completely different ways of getting there, all in the same evening. It's called The Rock. There's no celebrity chef behind this story. 3 Italian entrepreneurs began building the restaurant in the late 2000s. But the price of isolation at The Rock isn't paid only by the people who run it. It's shared by an entire community. Before becoming a global culinary icon, this rock was nothing more than a humble outpost for fishermen from the nearby village of Michamvi. Today, the restaurant still plays an important role in the lives of those same fishermen and farmers, people whose daily routines are now tied to the rising and falling tide around a restaurant that doesn't quite belong to the mainland. Once a shelter for fishermen, The Rock sits just offshore from Mikamvi Pingwi Beach on the southeastern coast of Unguja Island. The restaurant officially opened around 2010 or 2011. Over more than a decade, an anonymous rock became one of the most recognizable images of modern Zanzibar, an icon of what people call barefoot luxury, luxury that still lets your feet touch the sand, the water, and the rhythm of the ocean itself. The Rock at least has one thing going for it, a solid piece of rock beneath your feet. It isn't going anywhere. The next restaurant is the complete opposite. It doesn't stay in one place. It's a sailing ship, abandoned for an entire decade and now drifting through the Caribbean. There's no street address, no walk-in entrance. The only way to get here is by boat or by swimming straight to it. In Christmas Cove, just off St. Thomas, sits an 11-meter sailboat that has been transformed into a floating pizza restaurant. It's called Pizza Pie VI. The founders are Tara and Sasha Bowie. He was a mechanical engineer from Manhattan who became a catamaran captain. She was a self-taught yacht chef. In 2012, they bought the boat when it was barely seaworthy. The interior was stripped bare, with little more than a pile of old spare parts left behind. The price of living on the ocean while selling pizza is that everything has to be squeezed into the hull of a boat. 3 ovens, 2 refrigerators, a water filtration system, a freezer, a bar, all inside a space no bigger than a small room. There's no connection to the mainland. Everything depends entirely on the weather and on whether the boat itself can stay afloat. But this boat had another life before becoming a pizza restaurant. A British couple had it built in 1996, but after an argument, they abandoned it in Antigua. It sat there, rusting and forgotten, for nearly a decade before being restored and brought to the British Virgin Islands. That's where Tara and Sasha found it. They spent almost 2 years rebuilding it, then sailed it to St. Thomas. In November 2014, Pizza Pie VE officially fired up its ovens, becoming the only restaurant in the world where you have to swim or paddle a boat just to buy a slice of pizza. If a floating pizza boat already sounds crazy, wait until you see what comes next. There, they don't avoid the volcano. They cook directly on it, just 6 steps away from a 400 degrees Celsius lava lake. The road in looks like something out of Mars. Nothing but black basalt, volcanic ash, and an eerie silence in the middle of Timanfaya National Park. But right in the middle of this hostile landscape, there's a restaurant grilling meat without fire, without electricity, using nothing but the heat rising from deep beneath the earth. It's called El Diablo, the devil. The idea came from César Manrique, an architect and artist. But it was engineers Eduardo Cáceres and Jesus Soto who had to solve the seemingly impossible problem. How do you build a restaurant on ground where you can't dig a foundation? Their solution was to stack 9 layers of basalt rock on top of one another instead of digging down. Because just 6 steps beneath the diner's feet lies a lava lake reaching 400 degrees Celsius. The chefs placed their grill directly over an opening in the rock, where temperatures just 15 meters below the surface can exceed 600 degrees Celsius. César Manrique founded El Diablo in 1970 as part of a broader project to develop tourism and the arts in Timanfaya. He also designed the iconic devil logo that appears throughout the park, from road signs to the napkins on the tables. More than 50 years later, in 2023, National Geographic named El Diablo one of the 6 most impressive restaurants in the world. Proof that sometimes the craziest ideas can become the most enduring legacies. El Diablo cooks with the fire of the earth itself. The final restaurant on this list is much more modest when it comes to technology. No volcanoes, no drifting ice, no lava. Just a single road, barely wide enough for one car, leading to a 100-year-old stone hut on the edge of Europe. No cable car, no boat, no elevator into the depths. Just a single-lane road winding through the most remote corner of the Isle of Skye. At the end of that road, on the shores of Loch Dunvegan, sits a 100-year-old whitewashed stone cottage. It's called the 3 Chimneys, In 1984, Shirley and Eddie Spear left London and bought the old stone cottage for £47,000, despite having absolutely no experience running a commercial restaurant. All they had was a cookbook for inspiration and a vague belief that they could create something different. The price of taking that gamble was that they weren't even sure they would survive. They opened their doors over Easter in 1985, on the very same day as April Fool's Day. They joked that they were probably the biggest fools of all. No marketing, no professional team, nothing to guarantee success except the belief that people would keep coming back to one of the most remote corners of Scotland. The cost of that isolation continued for years. Every fresh ingredient had to be ordered in advance because there was no nearby market. Winter on Skye could freeze that single road, completely cutting the restaurant off from the rest of the island for hours at a time. And during those early years, Shirley was not only the chef, she was practically the entire kitchen team. It wasn't until 1999 that they could afford to build 6 guest rooms next to the restaurant, so diners who had traveled from far away wouldn't have to drive back through the darkness along the same road that brought them there. Before it became a legend, the cottage was simply a village shop. In the 1960s, Joy McCaskill turned it into a modest tea room, serving lobster and fresh fish delivered straight to the door by local fishermen. Fish and chips cost just a few pennies. Under the Spear family, the restaurant earned a Michelin star in 2014 and was once named by the Wall Street Journal as one of the 5 restaurants in the world truly worth traveling for. From a tiny village shop to one of the most celebrated names in Scottish cuisine. A cable car, a rock in the ocean, an elevator into the earth, a grill built over a volcano, a boat adrift at sea, a path through drifting ice. 6 images that opened this video, but behind every one of them is someone who bet their career, sometimes their life, to make it real. None of them started with a perfect plan, but that price of isolation is exactly what made each place impossible to replace. 10 places, 10 different reasons to go this far,